My name is Shannon Williams, and I'm a music teacher at the Plains Elementary here in Athens City Schools. I'm also a PhD student at Ohio University studying instructional technology. My focus is on using social media to deliver professional development to in-service teachers. So I hope that you'll find this presentation useful. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to point out that there's a slide that has a link to a Google Doc where you can submit questions if you wonder about anything as I'm going through the presentation, or if you have any interesting thoughts to add to it. So let's get started. We're going to talk about social media and how you can use it as a teacher to further your learning as a professional development tool. A lot of us use social media. I think nearly everybody uses social media on some level, it seems. And a lot of us use it just for fun. But what I want to propose is that you use it to learn and make yourself a better, more informed educator. It really can become a fun thing. It can become infused in what you already do. And if you look at it that way, it won't feel like an extra burden of something extra that you have to do, which is what a lot of us are struggling with these days, that there's not enough time to get it all in. So what if you mesh it with what you're already doing? So that's what this is all about, is how to fuse those two things together, the things that you do for fun with the things that you might want to do to further yourself professionally. There is a huge amount of information out there that you can take advantage of that's on the internet. A lot of it comes from your peers and colleagues, and other information comes from professionals that are out there, people who are just looking at research or trying new things out. They're not classroom teachers, but they've got the time and the resources to play with other things. So what you can get online on social media will run the gamut of anything that you could hope to figure out. So let's get started with how you can better take advantage of what's already out there. So let's talk about why teachers should use social media. The first and sometimes most obvious reason to use social media is as a communication tool. You can share a lot of information with parents, with the community, even with your peers. You can keep people up to date on just announcements and practical things like that. And when you're using it as a communication tool, it's not necessarily going to further you professionally, but it makes things more efficient. So if you're looking at it that way, that's a really simple way to get started. I do think that a lot of people have some fears or a little apprehension with using it for that because they're afraid of what they might put online. I think with knowledge and a little bit of research and looking into it, you can protect yourself from those kinds of fears. So don't let that stop you from delving into using social media. Just think before you click, and those communication things that you want to try and do, they're going to be okay. Then the other thing to consider is creating a personal learning network, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here, and just networking in general. So that part of using social media can be a really powerful tool, which is really what this conversation is going to be all about. And then finally, you can use it as an advocacy tool. Once you get comfortable online and you start to create your own voice, and maybe you even have somewhat of a small following, whether it's just within your community or it broadens out beyond your community, you can use social media to share your opinions and your values and things that you think are important. Don't be afraid to do that. That's what keeps the conversation alive, and you're entitled to your opinion. Again, you just want to use it carefully. Think before you click, but it can be a great opportunity to share things that you're passionate about and that you want to share with other colleagues or peers and that sort of thing, that it can give you a voice. So like I said before, we're really going to dig into what a personal learning network is, because that's where I think the big value in social media is for teachers, and creating your own personal learning network. That is something that you're going to do where you go out and search for the types of things that you're interested in. This isn't anything that's mandated by your district. It isn't anything that you have to learn. It's what you want to learn. And there is so much information out there about what you want to learn about. So going back to what I was saying earlier, that you can infuse this into what you're already doing. What if you got online to surf Facebook, check out your friends and the kid pictures and the cats and the fun things that you like to see on Facebook, and then along comes a post about a new reading strategy that you might want to learn about? You didn't have to take the extra time to go out and find that. It was already in your stream. So to get those types of resources, you're going to have to do a little bit of digging. You start to add that to your personal feed that you have going, and now suddenly that surfing time that you thought was a waste of time is now valuable time, and you can get further ahead professionally, being more prepared and more knowledgeable about certain topics that you were either struggling with or you're really passionate about. So a personal learning network is a tool that uses social media and technology to collect, communicate, collaborate, and create with connected colleagues anywhere at any time. So what role do you play in a personal learning network? There are lots of different levels of engagement that you can partake in. There are things called lurkers, which you may have heard that term before, but those are the people who just get online and look at what other people have posted. It's okay to be a lurker. Wear that badge with pride. It's totally fine if that's what you want to be. And there's a lot of value in just checking out what other people have posted. You could also become a creator. You might create content that you want to share with other people, and using social media is a good way to get the word out about what you're trying to say. You could become an influencer, which is kind of like a creator, but it's somebody who's trying to gain something perhaps from what they're putting online. A lot of people will take on like a side hustle, a little bit of business stuff on the end, and try and influence people to purchase items or follow certain types of methodologies or trends and that sort of thing. So you could consider yourself an influencer if you want to go that route. It's out there. You could also be somebody who's a retweeter. Maybe you like to share what other people have done. You're really excited about something that you read, but it wasn't your original idea. Share. That's what the internet is about. That's one of the things that makes social media powerful and fast-paced and moving, is the sharing of ideas. All of these things are valuable. Don't be afraid to use social media because you're not sure who you are when you're online. Those things will evolve and change. It's whatever you think you're going to get the most out of when you're using the internet. Now it's time to get your code so that you can get credit for this class. Enter this code for credit, PL11. So let's talk some specifics, some tricks and some tools to using social media. These are things that maybe if you're not that confident online, you haven't explored or played around with much. This is where I found a lot of people have hit a wall. They haven't tried some of these things out because they either didn't understand it or they just didn't even know they were supposed to do it. This can help you get more out of your social media time. The first one is hashtags. So what are hashtags? It's the number sign, hashtag, that people use at the beginning of a saying or a catchphrase. It's designed to be a search tool online. So all of the different platforms use hashtags in some way. I think it's probably one of the biggest tricks to learn how to really maximize your hashtag use. So you find a term that you're interested in, and everything that anyone has posted online can be hashtagged, and people will put those hashtags on there because they want you to find them based on that topic. Whatever post you put on, you can put multiple hashtags. So maybe you want your post to be considered for a lot of different viewpoints. So you would use multiple hashtags with lots of different examples so that you can drive traffic to your post. That's how other people are using it too. So you can search by hashtag, or you can put your own hashtags on your own post. Think of it as a search term that you can apply to whatever's out there. They're not always that meaningful. Sometimes people will put silly hashtags out there that are just for fun, that maybe kind of implies how they felt about a moment, and it isn't a hashtag that's going to be searched by anyone unless somebody starts a trend. But normally those really long ones where you struggle to read them are humorous or reflective in nature. So you don't have to take those long ones too seriously. The other thing we talked about before was retweeting and sharing. So on all platforms, there's usually some version of a share button or a retweet button. You can use that share button to repost something that somebody else has already put out there that you are excited about and you want to share on your own page. When you're online and you see people that you're following and you're really excited about who they are and they're motivating you and you're getting a lot from them, don't be afraid to reach out and communicate with them. You can use direct message services in something like Instagram, or you can use Twitter. You can directly message somebody through Twitter. All of these platforms have their own private messaging service. use those also when you've got something that maybe shouldn't be shared with the whole world, but you really want to talk to this person. Keep the conversation private. That's going to help protect you and your reputation or your integrity a little bit, but it allows you to still communicate with those people. All the platforms have some sort of direct messaging feature in them. And then it's how to find good people. So this is probably the best part of what I'm here to talk about, is how to search for people. There are infinite ways to search things on the internet. What I found most useful for me when I'm looking for people is to use hashtags. That gets me a lot of interesting people. And then I also like to go in and search the people that I admire, who they're following. And then that usually leads to somebody else, and then you search them, and so on and so on and so on. And people lead to other people. So search other people's friends and their followings to get things. You can also just do a topic search online, and then at the bottom of a page, there's often social media icon links. You could click on those, and that will take you to pages. And it's sort of a digging of who's friends with who follows who, and you'll start to discover it blossoms very quickly if you use other people as your inspiration for searching. I'm going to highlight just 4 different platforms, and I have brought a friend in who's also going to share a couple of platforms that she uses. These are ones that are probably the most popular online. Statistics show this is what most people are using, especially in the teacher demographic, that age range of anywhere from mid-20s up until their 60s. It varies which platform they like, but I think these 4 platforms cover that the best. So I'm going to talk about Instagram and Pinterest and what those have to offer, and then we'll bring in another user who can share some information about Facebook and Twitter. So on Instagram, I have found it to be very pretty. It looks beautiful. Everybody is sharing the best version of themselves. It's all highly edited and filtered, well, literally filters, but it's very inspirational and it's moving, and it makes you want to be them. Don't get self-conscious about it, but you want to be them when you're done. It's more personal, I found, on many levels. I think that people tend to try to be and are genuinely more vulnerable on Instagram than some of the other platforms. Everybody's very positive. You don't find a lot of negativity on Instagram because everybody's trying to be their best selves. And I also have found that the demographic is younger. So if that appeals to you, I am not younger anymore. I find it very motivating to watch younger teachers get excited about things, and I'm motivated by that. That might make you uncomfortable, and if it does, you can go where people match more where you're at in your career or in your life. So just think before you go. The other one that I think we all use a lot is Pinterest. You might not consider it social media, but there are a lot of social aspects to it. There's a lot more anonymity, so if you want to use social media but not really be out there, that's a good one to consider. It's very efficient. You will find what you're looking for very quickly without a ton of searching. It is more natural. It's easier to use. The interface is a little quicker, and it's also more focused. You won't waste as much time potentially looking for things. You might waste time searching or surfing, but you won't get as lost in it as you do in some of the other ones. And now, here is a friend who is also a heavy internet user, social media user, Jen Parsons, to share something about Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, thanks, Shannon. So most of you are probably familiar with Facebook. I know that everybody from students all the way up to my grandmother uses it. So we do have a lot of people who are familiar with the platform. And you're able to dig into depth if you want to on Facebook. Keep in mind that you have your real name there. It's a personal platform. And if you're building that personal learning network there, it's a great way to get your rich content and to be able to just log in, be reading through your updates, see somebody's new baby, and then get a little bit of a news story. Personally, as a museum director, I also really like to use Facebook as a way to see what other educators are doing, as well as maybe get some ideas for different projects or ideas for the students. It's also a pretty engaging thing, but it's good to remember not to get caught up in the battle for likes and in the battle to try and get the most shares of something. The other one that maybe some of you are on is Twitter. It's got a really informative platform, regardless of some of the implications of it, more publicly or socially. But there are little subsets or little worlds within Twitter. If you are into science, go on and search some hashtags about science, and hopefully you'll be pleasantly surprised to see all of the really interesting things that you can learn there. Twitter's a place to share professional opinions, but it's also a place that is more about broadcasting something out or broadcasting an idea out. And unless you're part of this smaller community, you might not get a lot of feedback back to you, to your personal learning network at first. So I encourage you to, if you're starting on Twitter, to keep with it and to start retweeting people who are in your field. If you are into, maybe if you're an ELA teacher and you are interested in learning more about the different writing techniques, there might be something there for you where you can search hashtags about it. It's also a great place to network and find a real global engagement with different learning possibilities. There's a lot of different interesting things on there. I like to follow big organizations like NASA, and we get videos that then I can reshare from the museum's page, or then teachers, if they're following us at the museum, could reshare for their students. Of course, with any sort of public-facing platform, there are a lot of considerations to take into place, particularly with the way that social media is engaged with by young people. It's important, as if you're a public school teacher, you have to keep in mind to keep that line between personal and private information. Some of you may be not comfortable with sharing things online, so choosing the correct platform for you to build that network can be challenging at first. But if you build it the correct way, there's a good way to do it where you keep your privacy in a private place. The other thing I really encourage you to consider is student privacy. Some schools I know have their internet protocol that's signed by students at the beginning of the year. So be sure to review your district's policies on everything, and that you know that before posting any student information or pictures. I think that by posting pictures and projects that students are working on can be really exciting for other teachers to see. Just make sure that you do it in a way that doesn't compromise anything of the student's privacy. To be able to use social media, we do have to think about our own digital citizenship as well as that of our students. So whether you are the one personally engaging with maybe, say, scientists or authors, think about the way that you want to promote yourself. Think about the quality of the posts that you're making and the things that you're retweeting. A lot of times you'll see people maybe retweet something and that says that they, tweets are not necessarily indicative of what I believe. But it's good if you're putting your face out there, it's always good to believe in the things that you are sharing. Another thing to keep in mind is just representing your school or organization. I know a lot of schools almost think of themselves as brands now. And you want to protect not only the students in your care, but also the brand of that school or organization that you work with. So those are just a few things to maybe think about as you're developing your own network, and as maybe you're starting to involve students in that as well.
Jen offered some really good advice to consider when you're starting to build your own personal learning network and getting the most out of social media. The social media channels that are out there will get you where you want to be efficiently and easy, and it's fun. And it can be part of something that you're already doing. So to help you get started in building your personal learning network on any of these social media channels, whichever one feels best to you, we've got a list here of some people that we like to follow. The first one that I put on there is she's really fun and she's a neat person and can be very inspirational from a learning perspective. She is a learner, a really good role model, although sometimes her language gets a little questionable. So just check her out for some motivation. Simone Gretz, or Geetz, she's Swedish. she'll pronounce her name for you. So you can check her out. Then the next few are some things that I'm into. I'm really into Google products. And so I found some things that are good for all users to use if you use Google products at all. The Google Teacher Tribe. Lisa Highfield does HyperDocs, which are a really cool platform design thing you can use with Google. And Alice Keeler is just a really well-known big voice in the Google world and how she uses Google to do really cool stuff. There's a couple of hashtags on here that you can use as a search engine. If you're not familiar with hashtags, this is a great place to start and see what pops up when you throw some of these hashtags in. These are a lot of science-based things that are really great coming from a museum director. So check that out. And again, use it as a starting point for your hashtagging so you can see what results you'll get. And then we've got some teach writing hashtag things that'll get you some ELA type of resources. Play with this list and start here if you're not already familiar with searching this way to see if it gets you further than you're used to going. If you have already been using social media a lot, I hope that what's offered here will help you dial it in a little bit, maybe give you a couple of ideas that you haven't thought of before. And if you're beyond that even, then use your social media outlets to amplify your voice. Put your opinions out there and take it to the next level. Be a creator, contribute to the body of literature that's out there, add to the conversation, and I look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you for listening.